Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. Today is Sunday, March 12th. I actually remember the date, and I think this is episode 135. I'm going to take a guess on that. I think it's close. Anyway, hello and welcome everybody to my knitting podcast here. I've got some finished objects to show you. I have one work in progress, and yeah, that's mostly it. So let's get started. I'm going to point out my husband bought me flowers this week. I came home and he had gone grocery shopping for something, and I was like, what are the flowers for? He's like, oh, just because I love you. And I was like, oh, that's cute. So I thought I'd put them in the background here. They're a little tall for this shelf, but so I kind of squished them a little bit, but that's what those are for. Anyway, let's get to some finished objects. So I finished some more socks. Surprise, surprise. 3 more pairs actually, to be exact. Actually 4 more, but one I've already sent off. So I think maybe I'll insert a picture here somewhere. Those are for a dear friend of mine who I've had the I knit the foot of the sock a long time ago. Okay, maybe it was like a year ago. And with the intention of doing this really cool owl cable on the leg, and then I lost the beads for the leg. Who knows where they are? They're somewhere. Anyway, so the feet of these socks have been done for ages. Finally I was like, you know what? I can't find the beads. She just deserves socks. Why am I making her wait? So I finished the leg with the Prairie Socks pattern by Kay Jones of Bakery Bears and sent them off. So those are done, and I was like, you know what? One day I will find those beads, probably like tomorrow, and you know, I'll make her the owl socks at some point. But you know, I was like, she just needs socks. She deserves socks. So I knit her those, and those have been sent off in the mail. But I finished some other ones that I can show you. So these are for another friend of mine. And they are, sorry, I'm trying to hold socks. There we go. So these are some yarn that I found in my stash, actually. I asked him what color he wanted, and he said light gray. And I was like, oh, I think I have some gray in my stash. It's actually more, yeah, that's that. Anyway, these are Highland Handmaids in the, I forget the base, but Fly You Fools is the colorway. So it's a Gandalf reference. And I did the skip rib pattern because it's a nice stretchy man sock pattern. It doesn't look as like flashy and pooly in person. On camera it's just like really stark. Anyway, so those are done, and I was supposed to see him yesterday, but that didn't work out, so I still have the socks. And then he requested some pairs for his some neighbor friends of his, and for husband and wife. So this is some yarn I picked up at the Knitting Pipeline from another crafty girl. This is bright orange and bright red. This is the strong sock base, and this is the twinkle base. And this is another skip rib. There's another sock hiding behind both of these. But this is another skip rib pattern. And this one is the Prairie Socks. There's the second one back there. So these are done. They are very, very bright. But these will go off to their new owners soon. So yeah, I was thinking about, I almost recorded yesterday, but then didn't, obviously, because I'm recording today. Anyway, but I didn't end up seeing him, so now I have the socks to show you. It's like, oh, I finished all these socks and I can't show any of them. But here they are. So, lucky for you, these are done. And you get to see them. And so that brings my grand total for this year to 14 socks. I finished one, basically did one row of ribbing, or a few rows of ribbing, and bound off on New Year's Day, so I don't really count that pair. But 14 pairs of socks since then, which is a little insane. So it's 10 pairs of guy socks and is that four women's socks. Yeah, it's a lot of socks. I've knit nothing but socks until a few days ago when I cast on a shawl. So Kemper Ray, who is also known as Junk Yarn, is put a call out for test knitters. She's Junk Yarn and Junk Yarn Design, so she has her own yarn and designs. So she put a call out for test knitters, and I said yes, I would like to test knit some of your beautiful stuff. So I already had this skein in my stash, and it's a 2 skein shawl, which I'm really liking right now. I find that I wear my 2 skein shawls a lot more than my single skein shawls, so I was all over that. So I had this skein, and so then she said we could order a second skein for testers, and she did a bunch of custom orders for the testers. So I said, well, what do you think will go with this one, which is Liara? And she suggested this one. I'm just gonna leave on this thing. And this is, I should probably have practiced pronouncing this. Amathea. Yeah, Amathea. And it is totally my colors. I love it. She'd been posting pictures of this colorway on Instagram the past couple days. She did a large wholesale order for a shop in France, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that she suggested this. I had suggested some other ones that I thought would have gone with this, and they probably would have, but I love this. So I'm really excited to pair those two together. And this is my yarn buddy from Sun Valley Fibers, if you were wondering. It's just a nice way to display the yarn. So that is going to be a new shawl. And I'm almost done with the first section. It's mostly textured, with these alternating textured sections. So this is, I'm almost done with section 1. I think I have a couple more repeats to go. And then I get to add the new color. So I'm excited about that. But that came yesterday, the new color. So I've been waiting and waiting, and finally I was like, I'm just going to cast on with the Liara, and then I'll just finish the first section, and then when the second one comes, I can jump into the second section. So I'm really excited about that. And so that, I don't know when it's going to be released, but the testers should be done pretty quickly, and I'm assuming within the next couple months that design will be out. So I'll talk about it more as I get further on the test knit. And the other thing I knit was a hat for a friend of mine. He had requested one a while back, and finally I had gotten through all my socks for everyone, and I was like, hey, do you still want that hat? He's like, yeah, I do. So I found this in my stash. This is Highland Handmaids in Misty Mountain, and I had had this forever. And it's on her butternut DK, which is 85/15 Polworth and silk. And it is awesome. So I really love this colorway, and I knit the Angel Hat by Kay Jones, so that's a nice stretchy hat pattern. So I just finished this like half an hour ago, and so I'm going to soak it and lay it out to dry basically, and then that will be actually done. But the ends are woven in and it's up, so I'm just waiting. I wanted to show it to you not sopping wet, which is why it's not blocking yet. But that will probably go into the soak right after this, or the wool wash soak bath thing. Anyway, a lot of words there. So that's what I've been working on mostly. I know that's really short, but it's mainly socks. But now I want to cast on a bunch of shawls. So I had some yarn wound up from like a couple weeks ago. I had like a big winding party. So like I have to knit all these socks. I just need to wind all the yarn. So I just sat down. My husband and I were watching something, and I just sat there and wound skein after skein after skein. And so I have a little built up stash of wound up cakes. And some of them, most of them were for socks, and some of them were for shawls that I was planning to do like way in the future. But way in the future has now arrived, and So now I can knit shawls. So I've started that one. I've got another one that I want to start. I want to do Party on My Needles. That's the one. I have a, actually here, I'm going to show it to you. Hold on. I have, oops, wrong. That's the wrong one. Is it in here? I think it's in here. I just started putting things in bags. There we go. So I have this from Orange Jellyfish Dreams, and it's the Batman colorway, or I think, what did she call it? Yeah, Batman. So that's Batman, and then this is the like mini skein that came with it. So I want this to be, if you've seen Party on My Needles, it's like a big crescent-shaped shawl with some like feather and fan kind of toward the edge, and then you have a contrast border. So I want this to be the contrast border, and this is going to be the main shawl. And I think I'm going to see in my stash if I have something that will go with this, because there is a second color in there other than the color pop at the end, to either pull out that blue, or I might order a black to go with this, to keep it kind of in that Batman kind of neutral color scheme. And this is also the Batgirl from the animated series, Batman the Animated Series, wore these colors. So I thought that would be perfect. So I'm really excited about that. I think that will be perfect actually for the Hero cowl from the Bakery Bears. I didn't think about that until just now. Yeah. Alright. So that is going to happen. And the other thing is, my friend requested a cowl. She has a cowl that she really likes, and she wanted another one. It's the store-bought cowl, and so I need to figure out the stitch pattern. But I ordered this from, I had ordered this to knit a pair of socks for someone else, and she saw me knitting it and was like, oh my gosh, I love that color. Can you get that color and copy this cowl? So I'm going to attempt that. I have 2 skeins of this because it's it's kind of a bigger, taller cowl, and I think it's knit with thicker yarn, so I'm going to try to hold this double. But that is another thing that is coming up on the needles, and that is Knit Picks Hawthorn Fingering in the Delphinium kettle dye. It's a gorgeous, like on screen it looked more blue, in person it's, I call it more violet, like there's a little bit of purple in there, but it's mostly blue. I don't know, it kind of depends on the light. But that is what's coming up. That's the things I have wound. Probably some other things, we'll see. But yeah, that's what's been going on in my knitting. What's been going on in my life is that it is, we're a couple weeks into the Baha'i fast. I think I may have talked about this before. But after a Yamiha, which is kind of our time of gift giving and charity work and kind of celebration, I guess you call it, comes our 19-day fast, where we abstain from food and drink from sunrise to sunset. And so it's the middle of the afternoon right now, and I'm a little hungry and might be a little delirious. But this was the hardest year to adjust because I've been working out so much and eating so much that my metabolism was really high. And during the fast, it's a time of like slowing down. It's a time of reflection. It's really like a time of spiritual awakening, and lots of prayer and just kind of reflective time. And I really, really enjoy it. It really makes you focus on different things in your life, and I've been really enjoying that. So I've been getting a little bit of knitting done in the morning because I'm awake, and I've also been going into work super early because I'm like, well, I'm ready, so I might as well go in. So that's been kind of nice. And then I get done earlier in the evening, which is kind of nice too. So that's what's been going on. Also, I hurt my thumb, which has not stopped me from knitting, obviously. But I was, I won't give you all the details, but I kind of gouged out the side here while prepping some food. I don't know how sensitive people are to things, so I'll just say that it's not pretty. and the Band-Aid is more for other people's benefit than, I mean, it keeps it protected as well, but it's definitely not fun to look at. But my husband, first thing was like, do I need to take you to the ER? Do you need stitches? And I was like, no, I don't need stitches. He's like, are you going to be able to knit? It's like, well, we're going to test this. So after like the bleeding stopped and I bandaged it up, I tried to knit and it was fine. He's like, okay, good, because you might go insane without your knitting. He knows me very well. I think I'd be okay for a few days without knitting, but it's definitely better with the knitting. But yeah, so that's healing. It's just kind of annoying. It slowed me down a little bit just because the Band-Aid sometimes gets in the way. But I got the like end of your finger Band-Aids, which work a lot better. The first day I had this like huge contraption of like medical tape, and it's like, it was crazy. It looked insane. So the Band-Aid is much better. But all that to say that I'm very glad I can still knit with this injury. Other injuries maybe not so much, but this one seems to be okay. So that's really all I have for today. It's been 2 weeks, which is kind of nice. I do enjoy these podcasts. So that's one thing I have been reflecting on during the fast, that I really enjoy the knitting community. I really enjoy connecting with people through this podcast, and I'm really glad that I can still do it. And I know I took some time off there, which was kind of needed, but I really hope to be back at this. I really enjoy sharing what I've been making with you and hearing what you've been making, and just kind of connecting with people on that level. And, you know, we all have this love of yarn and love of crafting and just love of making things, whether it's, you know, crocheting or sewing or needle felting or knitting or spinning. Just the love of making things is really great. And it's just kind of incredible to be able to take a ball of string, literally, and make something that you can wear out of it. It's just kind of crazy. Like, literally, you are taking a ball of string and making a sock, or making a garment, or making a hat, or whatever else, a toy. It's just kind of crazy. I don't know where this came from. Whoever invented it is brilliant. Yeah, I guess that's my afternoon musings about knitting. Oh, I did teach, one thing that is kind of exciting is that my neighbor is learning to knit, which is fun. She's a crocheter. She's been crocheting for quite a while. But just recently, she was like, can you teach me how to knit? Like, I gave her some knitting needles a while back that I was destashing, and she was like, I just kind of want to learn how to knit. She's always wanted to learn how to knit, and finally she's like, hey, Lucia, teach me how to knit. So she's been knitting. She's doing like a garter stitch scarf. But then yesterday I was over there, and she's like, oh, teach me how to purl. I want to learn how to purl. So I taught her how to purl. So now she's knitting and purling. So it's kind of exciting. So hopefully, I think her next project is going to be a hat. I suggested that as the next one, just because it's simple, it only really takes a skein of yarn, and it's mostly knitting and purling, and maybe some decreases, which really aren't that complicated. And it doesn't take very long. She's actually making really good progress on the scarf. I'm impressed. It's not super wide. It's maybe like, I don't know, 30 stitches or something. But on worsted weight yarn, size like 10 needles, I think. So, but she's making really good progress, which is good, because I know a lot of people who start scarves as their first project never finish them, just because they take forever. I think I've knit 2 scarves in my whole career as a knitter, and those took me like a year and a half each, I think, and those were the 2 Gryffindor scarves for our Harry Potter costumes, and I think that is the only ones that I've ever knit. Just because they take so long. And my, like, the 2 that I made, especially my husband's, because it's longer than mine, I mean, they're taller than I am, and I knit them in a round, so it's like, it just took forever. Anyway, but I'm really glad that she's enjoying knitting, and yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, she lives across the street from me, and we hang out a lot, so that's been kind of fun. And I think that's it for this week. If you guys have any questions or like things you'd like me to share or talk about, please let me know. Sometimes I feel like I should have like a theme segment or something, but I don't always get it together in order to do that. So I'm just here to show you what I've been making, and hopefully that is helpful or inspiring, and yeah. So have a great couple weeks probably. I'll be back probably in a couple weeks. And because my husband will be out of town, which seems to be a good time for me to record when he's not here, just because it's less distractions in the house. But I hope you are all doing well, and I look forward to connecting with you on some level in some way. So, aloha. Bye.